but I think that's the essence of martial arts is it's an expression,
right.
you know, and there's no limit to an expression, you know, there's a limit on how well your body moves, but not how it can express itself. There's too many movements that creates a limitless expression. So I think really there are no moves, you know, in martial arts. There's concepts, you know, when you look at, it's like this is how a human body moves. And if I can move my human body in this position and react this way at the right time, then you can call it a move, I guess. But it's just me getting from point A to point B the quickest way possible, or the most effective way, or the most crafty way possible.
Gotcha.
So I just really, and like a lot of people like, how do you remember all these moves? And I'm not thinking about it, man. I'm just doing it, and it's a streamline. That's why I guess where I fell in love with martial arts my whole life, because every time I did it, it was never I had to think about something. Every time I thought about it when I was doing it, I hated it.
Ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing? You know what I'm talking about? It's your motherfucking boy, Gamero, the Pharaoh, the poor man's Robert De Niro. You know what I'm talking about? Bald version. And we are also very ecstatic, so very happy to bring you another glorious episode, bring you another illustrious guest before us. You know what I'm talking about? But before I get to introducing the magnate of a powerhouse when it comes to the mixed martial artist realm, I would like to introduce everybody else in the studio. You know what I'm talking about? Behind the cameras. You know what I'm saying? There's a man. He's got a new hoodie. You know what I'm saying? That's fashion. You know, what is it? Emotionally troubled? Oh my God. That's great for a therapist. Ladies and gentlemen, behind the cameras, we got Cruz in the his house. What's going on, Cruz? All good. I am glad, you know what I'm saying? I know you have a job, and that is to keep the cameras on, and this man does it flawlessly. Ladies and gentlemen, today we also are blessed by an in-studio audience. You know what I'm talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please give it up for our in-studio audience today? We look forward to, you know what I'm saying, to listening to what the people clamor, the questions from the people. And ladies and gentlemen, how do I introduce a man with such a repertoire, a resume, so much experience in not only the MMA realm, but ladies and gentlemen, in the UFC. It is my absolute honor to be able to introduce, for the third time ever on Midnight in Miami, Alex Bruce Leeroy Caceres! Brother, thank you so much for joining us again. How is everything? Talk to us. You know, I recently saw you at the grand opening of the Hidden Lotus, which was a ball. Talk to us about that a little bit.
Thank you for having me, first of all. And yeah, it's been good. Everything's been going good. I've been feeling good. We had our grand opening of me and Rico Coco and my wife Cashmere. We had our grand opening of our martial arts and wellness center, the Hidden Lotus.
Okay.
It is on, Kendall Drive and 124th, right behind the Barnes & Nobles above the Roots Juice Bar.
There you go.
But yeah, it went well. We had a great grand opening. We had a lot of people showing up. Vegan Junkie and Bust Down Vegans, they came out and did a little bit of catering for our event and everything. Some great vegan foods that I've never tried them before.
Okay.
But yeah, man, everything went well. We got the gym open up. I'm working with Enrico Coco, who's a well-renowned jiu-jitsu specialist,
right.
You know. And we've had a few fights already together. We made some money and we were able to go into a gym together.
Hell yeah.
My wife runs the other half, which is the wellness center. So they offer massage therapy, naturopathic consultations, as well as colonic therapies.
Okay.
So I think it went very well. We have a nice facility and people are joining up every day.
How'd the idea come about? How was it, a late night and you were just there with Coco and, the idea just popped into your head, or how'd everything, where are the roots of it all?
It's been a long time coming, to be honest with you. This has always been an idea of mine forever. You know, I've always wanted to create and I think that's why I spent a lot of my younger years in mixed martial arts, traveling around the world, training in different gyms and stuff like that, because I wanted to develop not necessarily develop, but I just wanted to train a different type of way, I guess, you know, have a different style of gym in that sense. I always feel like gyms are always oriented towards the very false machismo aspect of martial arts, or mixed martial arts, should I say, and it stinks like crap all the time, you know. You know, you got the same type of attitudes there, the same type of you know, and it gets cliquey. What I notice a lot in different gyms, sometimes it gets cliquey. Like you have people that are you're training under the same house, but you're training in different groups of people, and there's always like this little like ugly competition that's in between there. And sometimes, and I notice it sometimes like that. And not only that, just for the fact that I've come across a lot of, not all gyms, you know, and the MMA lab is a very good exception of that. But for most parts, most gyms we're listening, us MMA fighters, professional fighters that's been doing it for a very long time, who are grown men now. For lack of a better term, we're letting ourselves be daddied by people that have never fought or have never trained in mixed martial arts. Now, mind you, I understand that they have wealth of gold knowledge, you know, within traditional martial arts, but there is a lacking when they hold domination over your training. There is a lacking of bridging those techniques over into mixed martial arts, or fighting inside of a cage, which is different than a ring, which is different than a lot of the places that traditional martial arts performs in. So I feel like we're missing that bridge. And I think what I'm doing now, or what I've been trying to do, because it was out of necessity, we needed a gym to train at. Me and Coco were training out of his father's Taekwondo school and in my backyard. Until we got the gym. So out of necessity for sure, but I want to bring into fruition another style or another idea of looking at the way training should be in martial arts. This is a new sport, yes, and we can definitely pull information and knowledge from different martial arts and disciplines. But for the most part, I feel most places lack bridging those arts into the modern way that we're fighting today.
How would you describe the importance of, like you said, going to different schools, and not only just focusing on one school in itself, but going to different schools to be able to be taught by different people?
Well, I think it's a beautiful thing, and I think we're among a very unique society as martial artists, and I think we should all have that open training with each other. To be honest with you, we're gonna end up fighting each other anyway at the highest level, so it really doesn't matter to me. But I guess some people, you know, they, like I said, they, I didn't say it yet, but they have different goals in mind, you know, when it comes to martial arts, when it comes to professional fighting. So a lot of people don't feel comfortable with that, but I do feel like it's beneficial going around and cross training at different places and trying to understand different looks of doing the same thing. You know, there's nothing new under the sun, but there's a myriad of ways of doing that very same thing that it can always inspire you, can always bring about a new version of yourself. If you just look at it that way. So I think it was very beneficial for me to it definitely, to be honest with you, there are some drawbacks. Like, it definitely took longer for me to come into my own, I feel. That's definitely for sure, because, you know, you're trying out new things all the time. But the way I figured it, I was young then. I might as well try out new things while I'm young, you know, my body can take it, and I have a long career ahead of me. So I can, you know, now when I come into my own, I can actually focus on the things that I actually want to do, or what I feel like I should do to help benefit me. So I think it's good to explore. It's good to explore, because I feel like it's the same thing with school, man. A lot of us, we go through school our whole lives, then we get out of school and we don't know what the fuck we want to do anymore. And we're just confused because we never really got to branch out and do other things. We got focused on one track, and then we stayed on that track, and then it will cost more to get off that track, so we think, than to stay on the same track, even though it's driving us into a brick wall.
Definitely. You had mentioned goals in this sport, goals in MMA. How would you say, if any, has there been a change in your goals from when you first started in the company to now?
I can say where my goal might have fluctuated, but originally I think it's the same goal, honestly. And I've always been a small guy growing up, you know, on the smaller end, you know. My brother was always a lot bigger than me, even though he was just a year apart. But you know, he's always been a lot bigger than me. So I've always been in that mix where I was fighting a lot because I was a small guy that just didn't that refuse to be bullied. You know what I'm
Hell
saying? So,
yeah.
like we're gonna okay, yeah, sure. You might get me in a rush, or you might get me in a number, or you might be bigger than me, but you're not gonna want to do this anymore after we're done here. You know, so for me, it's always to see. It's always to see my goal in martial arts, or when I do perform these unprofessional bouts, it's to see where I stand in general, you know, to see if my martial arts is true. Does it hold true? Does it hold water? Is it a proper thing for me to teach other people? You know? And so that's why I'm very fortunate, and I find myself in a very fortunate position that not only that I do perform martial arts on a professional level, but I'm able to perform it at a professional level at the highest echelon of competition, which is the UFC. So,
of course.
Yeah, not only does it work, but it does work against pretty high level people. You know, the better I keep doing and the more I keep going, if I turn this 4-fight, you know, win streak into a 5-fight win streak, the more it keeps proving it to me.
Of course.
You know? And even if I don't, it still proves it to me that it's in competition of that high level caliber. So it's really not about winning or losing, but it's about just understanding it a little bit better. That's my goal in that sense. Of course, I love winning. You know, nobody.
Don't we all?
Losing hurts a little bit more, but then again, it never deterred me from achieving my goal.
So you were never disillusioned by a loss?
No, it happens. I mean, you fight long enough, you're gonna lose.
Right.
You know.
Like you were saying, you play the game, right?
Yeah. Whatchamacallit? Yeah, you put two people in there if they have no skill, you know, and you put two people there to punch each other in the face with no skill, somebody is going to go out. It doesn't matter. It's not like, oh, this guy was more skilled. It's not that he's more skilled. It's just, everybody's got a puncher's chance. And at a high level, it becomes like, you ever seen like old school movies, like how like two samurais fight?
Oh, yeah.
You know, like where they're just constantly waiting, you know, and usually the first move tells it all.
Right.
You know, these are like how these high level professional fights are. You know, that's why comebacks are rare in the highest level of professional fights.
Yes.
The minute the scales are tipped in one direction, it'll start going that way. Even though if it might be close, but it'll keep going that way. It's very hard because these are very high level athletic competitors. And that's what we have to understand. And that's why we're like, oh, they're not doing anything. No, they're playing a chess match. Like
100%.
Like you ever, and if you play chess for real, play chess, you will sweat playing chess. You know, your brain is working when you're in there and you see people like constantly like faking each other, getting ready to go, because each of them know that one move could tip the scales into one other person's favor.
Right.
And you do have those occasions where it's very rare that the guy's getting messed up and then all of a sudden he just throws an overhand no look and knocks the guy. Oh, there's a great comeback. But for the most part, when the scales are tipped, they're going to keep tipping in that direction at a high level fight.
Yes.
You know, at lower levels, you're going to see more competitiveness, but at a high level fight, you're going to, it's difficult, man.
Right. You know, you speak about high level fights and professional fights, but in a contrast, what role would you say that your roots in not professional fighting, or, you know, certain, when you were doing the backyard and all that stuff, what role do you think it played to the career that you've garnered now?
Well, I guess I can, when I mean by like high level fights, I don't mean just like professional fights. And I don't mean like, how would you say, like one person's more skillful than the other.
Right, high intensity.
Yeah, or saying, yeah, because like sometimes it could be a guy that's just completely, you know, he's tenacious. You know, he just keeps going after the same thing. He's not very skillful in anything else, but then he's very skilled at what he does. He knows to keep going after the same thing. So you wouldn't call him a super high level skilled fighter,
right?
But that is a high level fight because he's high level at what he does and he's attacking it. So when it comes to like those backyard fights and stuff, yeah, definitely the skill level is definitely. I wouldn't consider those. There were high-level fighters there,
okay,
but I wouldn't consider all the fights being high-level fights between two people, which is why, like, every time I would go there, I would finish the fights usually within the first round. Like, they never go past the first round.
Right.
And it looks like I'm I'm hesitant to engage, you know, and all those fights you see me just always, like, sitting back, because I'm that type of fighter, you know, and I know when I get into that type of fight, I'm looking for that one opportunity to tip the scales or to finish it or to end it or do whatever it may be. So I wouldn't consider, I guess, like, not to toot my own horn, but I would consider myself just to be a high level fighter. You know? So when I'm fighting people that are not that level, like, it almost seems like I'm at their level because I'm not really doing anything. But no, it's just like, let's just make it as comfortable or as smoothly as possible in that sense. But when you see me, and you see me fought plenty of people that were high level.
Right.
And you see these guys when they fight other people, how they just run right through them.
Oh, yeah.
But every time I get these high level guys, you know what I'm saying? Now we're in this little chess match all the time because, there's something there, you know? And either they can say, oh, he's not that skilled. But then if I'm not that skilled, then this guy will just run straight through me. But there's a reason why he's not running straight through me. There's an intensity that comes off of a person, I guess, when you know that, okay, this guy can't hurt me. You know what I'm saying? Like there's something dangerous here. And the admission is not in the shit that they talk or before or after the fight. It's in the fight itself. You see them if they're hesitant or if they're not committing completely like they used to and stuff like that. A prime example was my last fight with they call him the hard-hitting hillbilly. Kevin Kroom. Like, he was a tough guy. You know, you've seen all his fights. You know, he usually runs out like a bat out of hell into the center of the cage and starts hitting people, and he got a few knockouts doing that. You know, his last fight before me was a first-round knockout. He went in there, fucking ducked the guy's hook and just hooked him over the top or something like that, and just laced him out, and then choked him the hell out. He tried that shit in the first 10 seconds, and then all of a sudden he turned from the hard-hitting hillbilly to just a takedown guy. Just started throwing takedowns and so it becomes very different. And I know that it does. And I know, like, outside from all the crap that they want to talk or say anything, like, I know that when you're standing in front of me, it's a whole different scenario. You know that I can, like, I don't know. It's just weird. But yeah, so like, I guess that's what I have to say about that. It really depends on the fighter.
It depends on the
It
fighter.
was also Justin Gaethje's first professional fight, by the way.
Oh, well, there you go. You know what I'm saying? Fun fact. What would you say, what's your relationship with teaching? Is this a new thing? Have you been teaching for a while? How are you enjoying it so far?
Well, I'm not at the moment teaching classes.
Okay.
I have taught before. I like it. I personally like it. I personally enjoy teaching just because I feel like I'm able to instill into other people what was instilled to me, you know, at a young age, when it comes to discipline, honor, you know, having dreams and achieving them, you know, and just not being afraid, you know, just not, in general, not being uncomfortable with uncomfortability, you know, just being able to move through this world as a free spirit, you know, like, you don't have to hide from people. Like, okay, if I'm a little whimsical, if I'm a little flamboyant or whatnot, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, like, what are you going to do about it?
Exactly.
You know? but it allows you a freedom, you know. And that's what I feel like martial arts allowed me, was a freedom to be myself more so. And
do you feel that you have far more freedom to be yourself from when you first started fighting to now?
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. Well, martial arts, just being sure of yourself really takes away a lot of the fucks you give about what other people think. You know, like, really, like, when you're sure of yourself, it's like, what do you care?
Right.
You know, it's like that's like somebody calling you broke, but you know you got a house and you know you got money in the bank, and and he's trying to call you broke to piss you off, but like it doesn't match up. Like, okay, but it's like, okay, you're saying that, but you don't know what I have, so therefore it doesn't affect me in that sense, because you're sure of yourself in that factor. If you weren't sure of yourself in financially, you might take offense to it. Same thing if you weren't sure physically that you could defend yourself, you will take offense if somebody called you a pussy.
Of course.
If somebody called me a pussy, I'm like, okay, that's great, that's your opinion.
Yeah,
but you know, you can come and you're not gonna find out.
Here's my highlight reel, by the way.
Well, yeah, you don't have to do that. But like, the thing is, like, it's rarely that people are gonna try and come and find out. And if they do, then you handle whatever situation you have to handle. But at the moment, like, I feel like I will take less offense to life in general, just because I know I can, through practice of martial arts, I was able to develop a form of handling life.
Handling life. Where did these, you know, you seem to be a man with many mantras, with almost like rules that you live your life by. Where did this focus come from? This focus on Bruce Lee, what he instills and all that. Where did that come from?
Well, I guess I've always had a curious mind, and I've always wanted to, like, I'm the type of guy that, like, if I have an opponent that's coming up, I don't like to necessarily watch his fights. For the most part, I like to watch their interviews. I like to see how they talk. I like to see how they interact with people and stuff like that. So just to get to know the person in that sense, you can really take something apart better if you know what's inside, making it work. So, because I feel like fighters change all the time, and I know that every time I come in contact with the fighter and we're actually fighting, the fight's different, because I'm such an awkward person to fight. You know that you're gonna have to change up your formula to confront me. Or I'm gonna force you to do that. So to me, watching moves and what the guy does matters less than the guy's personality. How is he gonna be when he's inside there? Is he super excited? Is he, Is he a baiter? You know,
Right.
stuff like that. But it started from a young age. You know, I've always been curious to see what makes people make them tick and stuff. What makes them so good at certain things. You know, so yeah, diving into Bruce Lee's brain as much as I could, into his philosophies, into his interviews as much as I could at a young age was prevalent to me. So I had to do that. But for the most part, I guess it's just doing. I mean, you do martial arts long enough, or I feel like you do anything long enough, parts of life start to make a little bit more sense.
Definitely. You mentioned not watching fights, but more so watching interviews. When you're not preparing for an opponent, are you a student of the game, if you will? Are you watching fights? Do you find that it helps you, or not really?
No, I don't watch any fights. I don't watch the sport. I don't watch any sports. I can't get into it. No, I don't see that it helps, or I don't see it helping and hindering me. I'm just not into it. So
Gotcha.
I just never got into it. I mean, we see new moves and stuff, but a lot of the moves that I do and a lot of the moves that I practice and all the weird ones that I throw out there sometimes is like, honestly, I watch anime and I play video games sometimes. I'm like, oh, that'd be cool if, you know, a human could do that.
Hell yeah.
Let's try and make a human do that. But I think that's the essence of martial arts is it's an expression,
Right.
you know, and there's no limit to an expression. You know, there's a limit on how well your body moves, but not how it can express itself. There's too many movements that creates a limitless expression. So I think really there are no moves. You know, in martial arts, there's concepts. You know, when you look at it's like this is how a human body moves, and if I can move my human body in this position and react this way at the right time, then you can call it a move, I guess. But it's just me getting from point A to point B the quickest way possible, or the most effective way, or the most crafty way possible.
Gotcha.
So I just really, and like a lot of people are like, oh, like how do you remember all these moves? And I'm not thinking about it, man. I'm just doing it, and it's a streamline. That's why I guess where I fell in love with martial arts my whole life, because every time I did it, it was never I had to think about something. Every time I thought about it when I was doing it, I hated it.
Was it does it feel like you're on autopilot?
Yes and a no. Like it feels like I'm observing it, but I know that I'm doing it at the same time. Like there's definitely a command there that's a will there that's willing to do these things, but there's no attachment to the movements, should I say. So like I guess a good example would be like because that is the way I fight. You know, you'll see me like go from one move and transition to another move.
Right.
I don't have any emotional attachment or sentiment to the move, which is why it looks like I have a move that might finish him. But if I don't feel like it's the best course of action, I'll abandon the move and go to something else because there's no attachment to it. You see a lot of people hold on to a move because they think it's going to finish because they have an attachment to that move.
Right.
And then they end up coming in a deficit position. They lose the flow state. 100%. I don't want to lose the flow state because then I'm trying to control the situation, and I can only control my will. I can't control his will. I can only impose my will.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? But I can't control his will.
Dropping bars out here. Okay, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, every single week, you know what I'm talking about? We have three segments, and the first one is actually called Mail Time. You know what I'm talking about? And in this beautiful segment, we ask our illustrious guest some questions from you, the audience. You know, because every Saturday or Sunday, boom, you see a story on the Instagram, and you yourself, you can submit a question through Instagram, and we'll ask it on the air. But today, you know what I'm saying? We have a live in-studio audience, so I'm just going to do one from the Instagram, and then I'm going to let my man Steven take it away with two more questions. You know what I'm saying? So from the Instagram, from the people, they ask, Alex, and I know you're big on your dietary lifestyle. What is your favorite pie?
Pie. Damn, I like all pie.
Respect.
I don't know. It's a hard choice between peach and cherry.
Oof. Bangers. All right. Peach and cherry. All right. Mad respect. Steven, what you got for our main man, Alex Bruce Leeroy Caceres?
I have a question. So, what are your goals after you're done with martial arts, after you're done with it completely professionally?
Okay, so with martial arts, I don't believe I will be done with martial arts. I think it's a part of my life. I'll be doing it forever. I'll be teaching as much as I can forever. But professional fighting, when I'm done with that, I guess is going into teaching. Really, my biggest goal would be trying to recreate the thought process on how we perform in humanity in general. I don't think we should be struggling for basic necessities of life or good healthcare in that sense, or good, what I mean by healthcare is maintaining the body through physical education, exercise, and nutrition. And so I want to try and make that idea, I guess, or that concept of living a little bit more prevalent in this world, because I think we're, it's about time that we kind of level up as humanity, because right now we've been playing the same song for a very long time and it's getting played out, where it's under a new album cover, but it's the same
100%.
it's the same shit. So I feel like it's about that time where we stop competing against each other and considering ourselves different from each other. Stop getting mad at other people's success, in that sense, and let's actually all work towards the same progression of humanity. Like, we all should be building each other up. There is competition. There should be competition. Yes, healthy competition is necessary in order for us to sharpen the steel that we're wielding. But at the end of the day, I feel like we have too much materialism and the love for materialism between humanity. So I think just kind of getting back to our roots and understanding where we came from in order to have a better idea of where we're going.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Very cool. And then a second question.
Second question. Okay.
If you got it. If not, I know I have one real quick. The sandals that you wore at the grand opening, are they comfortable?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because I saw them. I was like, they look, you know what I'm saying? I was like, okay, I need a pair. You know what I'm saying? And let me know where the plug is, because
I got them at the Renaissance Festival.
That's dope, man.
All right, I got one. So what are your hobbies?
My hobbies? Other than martial arts.
All right, big one right there.
I play lots of games. I'm a gamer.
Okay. Drop some titles, bro.
For Honor.
Respect.
And Fallout so far has
Okay.
been the two brands that I've been on. I definitely had a lot more hobbies before opening up this business. Would like to get back into playing a little music here and there. I like reading.
What instruments do you play?
I used to play the drums.
Oh, wow.
Little bit of guitar, play the harmonica.
Okay.
That's about it so far. Trying to learn how to play the flute.
Hell yeah. All right.
Just here and there. But yeah, definitely had more hobbies. Before I love cooking. Cooking has become a new hobby of mine.
Okay.
I love it.
Damn, all right. Very
preparing
cool.
meals.
Very cool. Thank you for those suggestions, those those questions sent in. Respect, Steven. You know what I'm saying?
You're welcome.
Alex, I do want to know, speaking of Bruce Lee, last night, Anderson Silva quoted Bruce Lee after his fight. I believe it was Be Water, my friend, if I'm not mistaken. What do you think of these fights that are happening, that have been going on with fighters who are on the older spectrum? You had Evander Holyfield, you had Tito and Anderson Silva. Talk to us about that.
I don't know. I can't say I have an interest, to be honest with you. I don't know. Nothing to me, to be honest.
Right.
They're having boxing matches, so it doesn't necessarily interest me. I mean, boxing is great and everything.
Right.
For the most part, I guess MMA fighters boxing each other, that's one thing. But then there is that MMA fighters trying to go into boxing to box boxers and stuff. And then I don't know. It's kind of weird, because then it's like, oh, well, we're the better fighter. We're like, well, then you just have one guy come from one sport. That's like saying, like, oh, let's see how tennis players can do in football.
Right.
It's completely different rule sets.
Completely.
And not only that, for MMA fighters, you're taking away their weapons,
Right.
something that they're used to using all the time. So now, and I've noticed it when I box people and just straight boxing sparring, sometimes my leg flinches. I'm like, oh, I'm about to throw a kick. You know what I'm saying? It's like one extra thing that I got to think about not to think about while I'm doing something.
Right.
So I can't say it's fair, but is it money? Probably.
Right,
So
right,
that's
right.
probably why they're doing it for. And I
100%.
can't blame nobody for trying to make a little bit extra cash in
Right.
this day and age. So, but really, I really don't have any interest in that.
Gotcha. Alex, talk to us about the difference in your first UFC fight compared to now.
Oh man, that was definitely an eye opener for sure. But nothing's really changed, you know. I can definitely I can say obviously like it humbled me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, being humbled, putting my life into perspective, it definitely matured me to a certain extent, or put me on the path to maturity where I needed to be to become the martial artist that I am today. But it still feels just as exciting, just as scary, just as uncertain, you know, as I'm walking out to this fights now as the first fight. If anything, honestly, it feels more impactful now, but I guess it's just because I'm trying to think back on a memory.
Right.
You know,
Of course.
So I guess the more truthful answer to that it always feels new. It hasn't changed.
It hasn't changed at all. You know, from even were the nerves at all different from the first time to when you're walking out now? Do you kind of feel that there's a certain level of experience that you're walking out with now?
Yeah, I mean, but I've always felt that way. I've always felt that I'm like, it's not even a certain experience. It's just, I'm going to fight to the end. So there's that. That's what does away with. I'm always scared, I guess, like not scared, I guess, but I'm nervous and I have the nerves jumping and everything as I'm walking up to the cage. But it's always the same feeling. Once I'm inside there, I remember what I want to do. And I no longer have any feeling either way. You know, it's going to happen. I don't know. It's a strange feeling, but there really isn't no bias towards any direction in that moment. I haven't really had the notion to look into it because there was nothing there, you know, before or after. It's just happening.
A lot of people say that weight cutting is the unspoken first round. Talk to us about your relationship with weight cutting.
Well, throughout the years, it's definitely had its ups and downs. For sure. When I was at 135, weight cutting was miserable. You know, that's like the first battle. And I guess you can say that, like, especially at 135, I was so caught up in weight cutting, you know, just to get down to that weight that I really didn't care who I was fighting, who it was. And it was just, okay, the fight's done. I made weight. That's it. I don't care. Like, now it's time to have fun. But that's what it feels like all the time anyway. I feel like weight cutting is definitely an outdated and stupid ritual that we do. Because if we didn't cut weight, we'd still be fighting the same people, just at a higher weight.
Right.
You know, healthier people. So to me, it doesn't make any sense. To me, it's and also it's something that I came to terms with, and I felt like, and a lot of people don't want to have to admit this or say this, but it came from deep inside. It's a bully's mentality. I want to fight a smaller guy. I want to be the bigger guy. That's what weight cutting is. That's what it is in a nutshell. There is no other way around it. And you could say this and this and that, whatever. Give me a different reason for weight cutting.
Exactly.
Anybody. There is no different reason. I want to fight the smaller guy and I want to be the bigger guy. And that's a fearful mentality. That's a scared mentality. That's a person, I don't want to fight a person that's equal to my size or bigger than me. I want to fight somebody that's smaller than me. And even though we don't notice it and we don't admit it to ourselves when we're doing it, subconsciously it's playing that role. Because our subconscious mind is picking up on all the subtleties of the thoughts that are happening into our conscious mind. And we don't even know that we're picking up on it. So yeah, we do have that bully mentality, which is why the people that do that and cut a lot of weight and those bigger people that are in those weight classes are the ones that choose their fights the most.
What's the importance of recovery?
Super important. It's something that's actually becoming more important every day of my life and the older that I get too. So my training times has actually gotten shorter.
Okay.
I don't train as much or as long hours or twice a day as much as throughout the weeks as I used to. I spend more time on focusing on my recovery. I don't think recovery is just, oh, I'm done training, I'm gonna sit on the couch and relax. It's not recovery, you know what I'm saying, or you whatever the fuck I want. You know, it's eating good food, make sure you're getting the good massages in, you know, flushing out contusions from your skin and
Good
bumps
Lord.
and bruises and stuff like that. So like this is recovery, you know,
Right.
like, this is recovery. And so it's a part of training. You know, we spent a lot of time learning how to destroy a body.
Right.
And which in part imparts us with the karma of destroying our own body. Because in order to impact something hard, we have to impact ourselves hard. So it goes hand in hand that we learn how to destroy. We also have to learn how to create and restore. So so they say you should train 6 hours a day. That's awesome. 3 hours should be active training, and the other 3 should be focused on your recovery.
How long would you say that it took you to find that fine line of training and recovery? Would you overwork yourself before?
Yeah, I would always overwork myself, and because I'm the type of person that wants more. That if I don't feel like I worked out, then I don't feel like I did enough. I feel like I'm cheating myself,
right?
Which is not true.
Like there's a guilt in there.
But it's not true, and it is just what's been instilled in me from growing up in wrestling practice, and growing up in high school sports,
right.
And then getting daddied by traditional martial artists that don't know how to do mixed martial arts, you know, and they tell you gotta keep doing it. It's like well no, but then tomorrow I'm gonna come in and I'm not gonna absorb any information from the techniques because I'm completely streamed out, months away from my fight, and I don't have to be in this kind of cardiovascular shape yet.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then I'm doing this for so long that it starts to eat away at my muscles, hurt my tendons, hurt my nervous system, because now I'm just exasperated of thinking that of constantly working my brain that way, right, over and over and over again, pushing my body like that over and over again. And then especially back in those days when MMA started, or any sport started, what recovery do we have? What recovery system was out there?
Right.
It's just recently, we got to do prolotherapy, PRP, ice baths,
cupping,
all that crazy is coming out now, and that's great and stuff like that. But that's one thing that is that's where that guilt comes from. It's just in wrestling practice, especially, we'll keep doing it until everybody is doing it perfectly, and if somebody fails, then we're all doing it all over again. So that's where a lot of the mentality of how we should train comes from. Those old school ways of training. And as time goes on, we understand that there's better ways of doing it.
Right.
And not only that, gaining better knowledge of different cultures around the world.
Right.
Like understanding that martial arts comes from yoga. And that's where the basis of all martial arts comes from. But then we go to India or we go to America and we see yoga as one thing. It's a pacified thing. It's just, for stretching and meditation and stuff. But in ancient times, every yogi was a warrior. Then they had a martial arts. I forgot the name, but it tied right into yoga. So the yogis would practice this martial arts and then also do yoga for recovery. So it went hand in hand. So the destructive force and the creative or restoration forces or standing force went hand in hand with each other. But then obviously you have European invaders that come in and they pacify cultures. That's what they did with a lot of the warrior nations in Africa. They pacified them and they said, "Oh no, you want to be peaceful," and then they call you being, what is it? Harmless, peaceful, but they're not the same thing. Peace can only be chosen. It cannot be given. And it's not inherited. It's only chosen. If you're not capable of maintaining peace with violence, then you are harmless. And that's a completely different thing. You are just subjected to other people's violence.
Right.
Wow.
Alex, how would you say that MMA has changed as a whole from when you first started? You had mentioned, that recovery wasn't as prevalent back then. And now we have all these sort of different methods that are coming out, cupping, ice baths, et cetera, et cetera. But besides recovery, how would you say that MMA as a whole has changed?
There's a lot of good parts about it, and there's a lot of, crappy parts about how it changed.
Okay, elaborate.
So the great things, like you said, right there, we have new technology on recovery, on training systems. The more and more time passes on with mixed martial arts, people are having a better understanding of it. So we're starting to develop new ways of training, different techniques and concepts of maneuvers and whatnot. We're actually having better judges, better commentary,
and that's definitely been something that,
And it's slow, but there are better fans,
right.
And it's getting there.
yeah. Less casuals. But okay.
But with the increase of that, we also have the increase of the other, dynamic where, it's becoming, I don't know, it's weird. I feel like there's less casuals. Okay. But then there's also, I feel like there's more of them, coming out of the woodwork and stuff. And it's become more of a sport. It's become more of a sport rather than a fight, to be honest with you. We're having more athletes coming in and performing rather than actual fighters or, you know, that are going to go out under shield, you know, where like for the most part though, it's been getting a lot better.
Do you feel that the sport as a whole has garnered more respect?
Definitely. I feel like we're still lacking the respect that we deserve as, and if we're going to be considered athletes, which is perfectly fine, then we have to be considered realistically the most, you know, elite athletes in any sport.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't care what you are. You take a football player, you take a soccer, you take any sportesian out there, you put them in 5 minutes of an MMA fight. Guarantee you they're gassed.
100%.
I guarantee you they're gassed. So it's because what people fail to realize in all these other sports, you can turn off your brain. You can't turn off your brain in martial arts. You can't. You have to constantly be playing chess and physically performing at an elite level. You know, like
right.
So it's very difficult, and I think we deserve a lot more respect. I mean, look at these football players and basketball players. They're getting paid literally millions of dollars. They got 6-figure signing just to sign up, you know, with these teams and squads and shit like that. And then they got all year round recovery systems for them and everything. So like, yeah, I believe as the warriors and the blood sport that we perform for the populace, and I don't know, I gotta say, I think people like watching this shit more. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I would like some basketball player money. I would like some football player money. That'll be great. You know, I can make some moves, not really like, oh, I'm kind of making it. I'm doing pretty well for myself, but I'm still got to fight the fight in a weird way. You know, don't get me wrong. I got more money than the next person. I can, open up a business for myself, but I still got to work that shit. I still got to pay off the rent and everything. I want to be able to have, you know, $1 million in the bank that I don't got to worry about.
Right, 100%.
You know, I'm like, I don't got to touch this. You know, like that'll be great. And like, yeah, we do put our lives on the line.
Yep.
And I'm sure that every other sport there are dangers and stuff, but we're literally going in there trying to hurt each other. It's not like, oh, he just so happened to get hurt in the sport he was playing. No, it's like, no, we're deliberately trying to do that shit. Like, and if you talk to most people, fighters in the game, like, oh, I'm trying to kill him. Yeah. Okay, so it's just fuck.
God. Would you say that there's for the most part with your opponents, a mutual respect post fight?
Yes. And it's funny that it's always post fight. It's like up until the fight, oh, you're a bitch. You're not ready for this. Yeah, you're not born to be a fighter. Yeah, you had how many fights? Yeah, you had all these fights, but this was gonna be different. This one's gonna make you not want to fight anymore. And it's like, okay, you know, like I've been beaten, I've been strangled, I've been, you know, I've been edged out. You know, and I had victories as well, and like none of it has ever deterred me. So I've always have respect for my opponents before and after fights, during fights, just because at the end of the day, speaking on the job, I don't have a job if I don't have an opponent. So thank you for being there.
That's
facts. Thank you for being there. Oh, you want to fight with me? Great. You want to do the thing that I love to do the most? I don't care if I win or lose. I just want to go out there and fight. And a lot of people are like, oh, I love this shit. It's the best thing in my life, and I love to do this stuff. But then they don't take certain fights. You know what I'm saying? And they're mad in fights. They're mad before fights. I'm like, if you love it so much, why are you so stressed out about it? You know, you should be excited. The minute I ride, and ask anybody in the UFC, you know, the minute I touch down, I'm in the lobby and I'm in the UFC, I'm excited. I'm like, oh, it's finally gonna happen. The thing I've been waiting for, you know, like it's opening up a present. It's coming slowly. But I don't know why people don't get stressed out for fights. There is stress,
right?
But it's because I want to do it.
You want to do it.
You know, it's more of an anxiety, like a bottled up energy. Like I just can't wait to open the bottle.
Oof.
You know, but it's most people, they're just like, I don't know why it's so stressful for a lot of people. I see people like, and I've been in fight camps before and fight weeks for people. They're so angry, and it's just, I'm gonna fucking kill him. I'm like, bro, you don't even know the guy. You don't even know the guy. It's just, why do you want to kill him so bad?
Do you have a preference? You know, now, what do you say? Mid-pandemic, do you have a preference as far as audience or no audience?
Nah, it doesn't make a difference to me. I can still hear some people talking and stuff, even though there's no audience, and because they still have a little crew out there.
Right.
But no, it doesn't really make a difference to me. It's always the same, and it's always the same. Like ever since, anytime like I be on stage or in the ring or whatever, I just feel like the lights are so bright, and I'm just so focused that I can't see nobody, and I can hear stuff, but like it's just I'm not grabbing on to the information that's
right.
You know, it's just. passing through. I'm in a weird state at that moment. It just feels like a weird dream every time that I'm in there because like it's the same cage, it's the same canvas, but it's a different person, and it's just like and Bruce Buffer, the same things going on. It's just it's like a trip. So I just kind of ride with it.
Being in that flow state, are you still able to listen to your corner?
Oh yeah, I can hear them. I can say not always listen. I can hear them, but at that moment I'm functioning at a different thought process. So sometimes I hear them, but sometimes I know that he heard them too.
Right.
So sometimes I hear them and then I see the person make adjustments because of what he heard, and then I'll do something completely opposite because he won't be ready for that, and he thinks that I'm going to be listening to my corner. So I am listening, but I'm not always doing what they're telling me to do. It's just, and me and my corner have that understanding. It's just we're making suggestions.
Okay.
You know.
So sometimes it is a bit difficult to apply what they're saying, especially if the opponent is listening to it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It's just like it's like, oh, he heard you too. You know what I'm saying? Like it's great. That's why people come up with code names and code words.
Right.
Like
Yeah. Have you ever done that?
Yeah. We had certain things and stuff. Honestly, I just use it against my opponent. Like I know that my opponent's gonna think about whatever my coach has said.
Right.
Whether it's a code word or anything. So sometimes I just use it like that's to me like a proverb, like just a fake.
Okay.
It's like, he says something, it's like now the guy's waiting for something to happen.
Okay.
You know, so sometimes you just make him waste his nervous system a little bit. Maybe you might just hint on something that might happen, have him react early or something like that. So sometimes I play. There's no attachment to it though, but it's weird because it feels like I'm watching it. I'm watching myself do it, but I'm not doing it. You know what I'm saying? So there's definitely something making those better decisions for me at that moment. And I'm kind of just like sitting back in the back seat, like watching it happen, like, and allowing it to happen. But I know if I don't allow it to happen, and if I try to hold on too tightly, you know what I'm saying? You know, it could wrench my wrist if it turns the other way.
Do you ever do the same in that regard, that you heard your opponent's corner and you're trying to maybe beat them to whatever they're going to try to do?
I've never. I can hear them. I can hear the corner, but I've never felt like, oh, I'm gonna try and, you know, I never try to capitalize on what they're trying to say because I get paranoid too. I think the same way. Like, oh, what if he's using that to trick me? You know, I'm like, so I just don't pay attention to them most of the time. What I do hear sometimes, like I've run one of my fights, like if I'm winning fights too, and like I hear the corner getting angry at their fighter, and I'm like, fuck, bro. Like I start feeling bad for the
real?
fighter. You know, like, I'm like, oh, why is he talking to you that way, dog? It's like, well, just like it's like, oh, just cut him off. I'm like, bro, it's like it's not that easy. I'm cutting out this way. I'm tricking him. It's like it's just like let him fight, bro.
Yeah.
Like let him fight. And like I just let him. It's like I feel that way sometimes. You know,
Oh my God.
Like, I felt that way before. So it's funny sometimes, you know, when I hear them. I just remember one guy was just yelling, like just butchering his coach, and I mean not his coach, his fighter, and then I'm in the corner and I can hear them from my corner sitting down, you know, in between, and he's like just yelling. I'm like, bro, like this is not like he's in the second round right now. Like this guy's like fuck, I already frustrated him. Now you're pissing him off even more, and you think you're gonna get him angry, and then he comes out, you know, obviously just and just looking for the big shot, and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna do the same thing, and it's just so it does make me feel bad sometimes when I see the relationships between teams, you know, that they have, you know, what they make important, you know, and at the end of the day, if I have a fighter, you know, which I've had before, and I've been out to fights, and I've had people fighting and stuff like that. The most important thing, we want to win, and we don't want to lose and stuff, you know. But the most important thing is that, are you gonna get out of there okay? That's what I'm worried about. Every time I corner my brother is every time I was coaching him on moves and stuff, you know, it's even though like I knew we were gonna lose the fight, I'm still coaching him just to put him in better positions so that he doesn't get hurt. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like it could be third round and there's 30 seconds left, but if he's laying on his slam his back and the guy's trying to pound him, like I'm telling him what to do, so we're not trying to get hurt, because that's my main priority in a fight is self-defense. That's what it's life preservation. That's why I do martial arts for. I just so happen to do it in the UFC. But for at the end of the day, if I can preserve my life, then my martial arts works. You know,
that's a damn fact.
And that's the point of it for me. So, the dynamic, and that's what I loved when I was training with the lab. You know, Coach Crouch and Benson Henderson and stuff like that. You know, like all their coaching was always it wasn't like telling me to do something and this and that, or just to win the fight, but it's to make sure that we get to do it again.
Hell yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That we get to do it again, or that we're doing it the best way that we can, and we know there's going to be ups and downs, but as long as we're okay, like that's what's most important. As long as I get to come home to my wife, you know, as long as I get to come home and walk home, you know, walk out.
Right.
As long as I get to do that, like that's what's most important in a fight to me.
Very, very important. The most important of anything. Ladies and gentlemen, every single week, you know what I'm talking about? We have three segments. And the second one is actually the movie review of the week. You know what I'm talking about? And in this beautiful segment, we have our illustrious guests, give us a suggestion, a recommendation, you know what I'm saying? A movie, a TV show. We've had video games. We have Sarah J, suggest adult films. Anything that, you know what I'm saying, that you want to recommend of media to our people. Let's say they're waiting for 2 hours. You got 10,000 people and they're waiting to watch your fight, and they got their phones on them, you know what I'm saying? They got Netflix, they got Hulu, they got HBO, all that good stuff. What would you recommend the most?
Well, I haven't really got into too many new movies. I've been trying to do the whole Marvel series.
Oh, respect. All right, where you buy?
We just finished Ant-Man, so I'm getting into the Civil War.
Okay. Oh, that's a good one.
So I'm trying to do that, which is really great. But one movie that I did see recently, it's pretty funny, but it's pretty cool. It's called Paper Tigers.
Paper Tigers.
It's on Netflix.
You see it on the screen.
Yeah. It's about three older like kung fu prodigies.
Okay.
Trying to get back into martial arts to avenge their old master.
Oh shit.
So it's pretty funny, so you got like these guys that like kind of like did martial arts their whole lives when they were younger, but then kind of like fell out with family lives and everything, and then trying to get back into it. So they're like pulling hips and
Is it live action or animated?
Live action.
Okay, very cool. Paper Tigers. How many stars would you give it?
No, I'll give it a good out of what?
Out of 5.
Out of 5. 4.5 to 5. It was a good movie. It was enjoyable.
All right. Very
that
cool.
and the Kenshin series.
Okay. Is that on Netflix as well?
The first 3 movies I think are on Amazon Prime. That's where I found them.
Respect.
You can rent them out there, but then they got 2 new ones on Netflix.
Okay.
So they got the one explaining his previous story, and then the one explaining the finale and everything. So
all right,
it's pretty good. It was an anime that I grew up with.
Very
when
cool.
I was a lot younger.
All right, very cool. You see that on the screen. Absolutely beautiful. Steven, you got any movie suggestions for the people? You got anything you've been binging or a TV show, anything like that?
Movie suggestions. All right. I've seen a lot of movies.
That's a movie buff, bro.
But this year so far, I really like Space Jam.
Okay.
Space Jam
Wow. Okay.
Space Jam was really, really interesting.
Okay. Interesting is one way to put it. You know what I'm saying? All right. Space Jam. That's beautiful. All right. Alex, talk to us. The rumors, I believe they are true. You do have a fight coming up. Talk to us about that.
Well, I see that I do have a fight announced October 23rd. I believe it's the date.
All right.
And it's Sung Woo Choi, I believe his name is.
Boom, boom, boom.
And set up for October 23rd.
Set up for October 23rd. How's the preparation coming along, brother?
It's been good, man. I've been I'm always prepared. So I feel that I'm always prepared. We train. I try to stay in shape, and I train every day, even if I don't have a fight. Like I said, martial arts is a lifestyle, so no matter what, I'm always ready to fight. So getting more prepared, I guess it would just be fine-tuning techniques and concepts pertaining to the opponent. That I leave up more to my coaches and sparring partners. But other than that, I feel like I'm in shape for fights.
Hell yeah.
So I know I can get in better shape though.
Okay. Is it difficult for you to balance out what you're gonna train as far as like during the week? Like, is it even for you as far as wrestling, jiu-jitsu, stand-up, etc.? Or like, what's your training regimen like?
So that's one thing that I did away with a lot. I do it a little bit, very little, but I don't separate the techniques. I don't separate the martial arts anymore.
Okay.
So everything that we do, whether we're going for like practicing on takedowns or taking on defenses or stuff like that, we're doing it in the mindset as if we're in a real fight with anything goes in a sense, right? So We're always practicing. We're doing our wrestling practices with MMA gloves. So if we're gonna go for a takedown, we're gonna throw punches, setting up the takedowns in different ways. Throw punches, throw kicks, whatever. How we're gonna set it up, you know. And if we're defending takedowns, we're defending them not only with our hands first, but getting in an upright position where we're not in a wrestler stance, you know. Because I feel like that's what happens when we start training in traditional martial arts. Like prime example, you go to jiu-jitsu, right? Or you go to wrestling, they're gonna get in a wrestling stance, you know,
Right.
which is unrealistic in a fist fight. You know, you're gonna
Of
get punched in
course.
the face, you're gonna get kneed in the face, you're gonna get kicked in the mouth.
Right.
So, you know, like you're not ready for that
Right,
stuff.
right. Shout
So,
out
like,
Ben Askren.
So so that's why I try to keep that same mindset as if we're doing in a mixed martial arts fight or just a anything goes fight, and whenever we're training. So I really don't separate things, and there's no difficulty finding the time because we're always incorporating it. It's like, okay, we want to go for the takedown like this, but we're not going to do it this way or the traditional way because we might get kneed or we might get punched, and we're
Right.
not going to stand this way because we're going to do this, so we're going to do it like that. And there's certain ways we can set up this takedown
Right.
without putting ourselves in danger. With our hands first, make the guy think upstairs. So just trying to, and this is a prime example of what I was talking about, the bridge between
Yes,
traditional
yes.
martial arts in mixed martial arts. And this
Yes.
is a bridge, you know, like how do I get the guy down? Well, I got to have a mix between some type of stand-up and grappling to get the guy down. If I got to soften him up, open him up, or get there. Sure, there are occasions where we see really nice wrestlers where they just go in.
Right.
And it happens, you know what I'm saying? But then again, these are probably, you know, collegiate or Olympic wrestlers,
Right.
and they don't do it all the time. It's just sometimes you catch the guy.
Right,
Sometimes you don't. But like you got to be ready for those grindy and long fights, and that's what we're trying to work mostly on and prepare.
Okay. Alex, talk to us about your diet in regards to, correct me if I'm wrong, you are a vegan, correct?
Yes.
How long has that been the case? How'd that come about? And how do you feel that gives you an advantage over other fighters?
Okay, so well, I started being vegan, started coming to try and be vegan around like I'd say 10 or more years ago.
Okay. So when you kind of were getting started?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was an on and off, you know, struggle, definitely. Especially, and it's crazy like trying to do something like that, like a major change in lifestyle, like that is a very prime example on how strong the brain and false information is. You know what I'm saying? Like you would like just your culturized brain, like the way you grew up is like you think that you need something or you think that this is bad for you or this is good for you or not just because of what people have told you, and you didn't really make a decision for yourself. There were a couple times when I was in the process of making that transition from being in an omnivore diet into being vegan, where I doubted myself, I doubted everything, and where I would actually physically feel bad because I was doubting myself so much because of all the pseudoscience that was out there previous, you know, like, oh, this is what is good for you and this is what's not good for you. Man, but it's been like 8 years, I would have to say solidly, where I have not felt a single deficit. I have not felt where I'm tired, you know, drained. If anything, I've actually gained weight. I went vegan to go to 135 and had to bump back up to 145.
Oh, wow.
Just because I gained weight eating these foods. And what I noticed, it's a lean weight. It's a weight that doesn't leave me. When I was at 135, I had more pudge on me than I did at 145. I'm always walking around solid lean, you know. And I don't have to try really. I mean, I train every day, but it doesn't feel like I'm trying to stay lean. Even when I was at 135, I felt like I had to like do twice as much abs, you know, run twice as long and do these things just to be at that very lean state, which is at a low weight, which is no water, no food, and then exercising like crazy just to be there.
Right.
You know, and I don't know, man. But then again, I like to always incorporate the spiritual side to things. I always like to think a little bit deeper, you know, or the intellectual side to things a little bit deeper into the actions that I'm doing. Like, what is the imprint that I'm creating when I'm performing this way? You know, why do I want to perform this way? The same way that I was saying, like, I wanted to stop cutting weight because I felt like it was a bully mentality, right? Well, it's kind of the similar fashion here. I watched a lot of documentaries, and I first started doing it for weight cutting and health and shit. But the more and more I started to learn about it, the less and less I wanted to bully my way into animals' lives in that sense, you know what I'm saying? Or be a scavenger or be a vulture in that sense. Because like if we say, oh, we're hunters because we eat meat. Well, we're not hunters. We're not performing as hunters. We're performing as scavengers. You know, that's what we were going to a store with already dead animals laid out in front of us, and then we just pick up the dead flesh and we eat it. Like that's what vultures do. And if we're hunting it, then we're eating the shit raw, and we're going out there and we're picking it up and we're doing the work to do it. And hunters do not eat meat every day. Scavengers can, but hunters can't, right? Because you have the hunting animal.
Right. Well, yeah,
You know, that'll
take a hot minute. You know, you had said you had transitioned from the omnivore diet to the vegan diet. What was the spark that caused it all? Was it a particular documentary? Was there someone speaking to you? Was it what impactful moment happened that everything changed?
Well, man, that was crazy. I can't really pinpoint the exact moment, but I know that there was a couple of documentaries that turned us on. There's a couple of documentaries that turned us on to that style of thinking. I think it was Forks Over Knives. That did it for me. You know,
And that's on Netflix or?
Yeah, that was on Netflix.
Okay, you see it on the screen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it just pretty much gave a rundown of the impact that we're putting on the earth, you know. And I've always felt we all have a responsibility owed to the earth or the planet that we live on. So to turn a blind eye to the atrocities that we are committing to the planet out of pleasure or the seeking of pleasure, then it's hard for me to stand by that anymore. You know, if we're literally cutting down the lungs of the planet, we're destroying the waterways of the planet. We're destroying the actual earth of the planet because we're over slaughtering, you know, animals. Even back in the day when we were all hunters and gatherers, if we were all hunters and gatherers, because there's not enough scientific evidence to prove that, only certain small tribes that lived in harsh environments that had to hunt and gather, you know, not everybody. And actually in the Mesopotamia and in the Middle East and in parts of Africa, they were super huge on agriculture. And that's where they met all their technological needs and all their nutritional needs as well, was agriculture. That's where when humanity started thriving and started developing communities and started living closer to each other and stopped moving around so much. But I'm sorry, what was the question again?
As far as veganism, I mean, going back to what was really the most impactful moment that...
So it was just seeing the impact. Seeing the impact of what the documentary was showing us that we were doing. And just looking at the numbers, man, we look at the numbers and we don't have a very long time. You know, like from when I watched the documentary, it was probably like from 75 years.
Wow.
You know, we have to, if we keep going the same route, we're not going to have clean water to drink. We're not going to have clean air to fucking breathe. And we're not going to have any soil that has nutrient enough to grow any type of seed. And then they're going around genetically modifying all the seeds so that they don't have a second generation that you have to go back and buy the seed. So it's like there's definitely a plan going on. And it's kind of like we're all seeing it happen.
Right.
But we're kind of sated. We're sated in our thirst for knowledge with pleasure seeking, meats and sugars and high salts and oils and shit like that. I mean, we're completely, what is that word? Hijacked, mentally hijacked,
Nice.
You know, spiritually hijacked, to where we don't even feel a thing, knowing how many billions of animals are slaughtered in front of each other, and then we're eating that negative emotion. We're eating that pain, that suffering. We're eating that misery all the time, which is why most people in America especially are miserable. People that are overweight, sick, and nearly dead are miserable because you're eating flesh that is jam-packed full of the chemical of misery, because every emotion is a chemical composition released by the pituitary gland of the brain. So if you got these animals suffering, their meat is going to be latent with suffering chemicals, and then you eat it, and then you wonder why you're suffering the whole time. You wonder why your gut hurts and everything. But as below, so it will be above. And as above, so it will be below. So in the smallest form of life, which is your cells or your atoms and everything, you will feel it in the highest level of life. And in what's going on in the highest level of life, you're going to feel in the smallest level of life. Wow. So that's why a lot of times if you don't fix your head, you know, your body, it doesn't matter what you do with it.
100%. It all starts with the head. Ladies and gentlemen, every single week, you know what I'm talking about? We have three segments. And the last one is actually the quest for the truth. You know what I'm talking about? In this beautiful segment, we pick a random emphasis on the word random card from this here deck of cards, and we get the chance to ask that to our illustrious guests, and we'll even ask one to our in-house studio audience as well. And here we go. Okay. There's a couple intense ones. All right, this one's a pretty decent one. All right, Alex.
Oh, that's Nick Plissette.
Yeah, you know.
I used to go to high school and we were on the wrestling team together.
Oh yeah. He actually, when he came through, he gave you a shout out. Yeah. Hell yeah, big shouts. Alex, what do you get in the most arguments about?
Oh,
I hope everybody's thinking about their answers because everybody has the same question.
getting the most arguments about. That's hard.
He's like, there's so many.
I guess. Oh man. I guess one of the. I don't know what's the most, but I guess I'm gonna go off of what's the most annoying for me.
Okay.
You know, to get into those type of arguments. Is I guess when people that don't do what you do try to tell you how to do what you do better.
Oh, that's a good one.
You know, like, and it, like, yeah, it's the speaking from a comfort zone type of thing,
right.
You know, like, so it's, I think that's one of the, when I get into, and I it's been a very long time that I get into arguments with people, but if I do, like, I notice like they'll run on and
right.
It's pointless because like they're not listening in that
right.
sense. They're trying to tell you something, so it's understandable. So that's one of the most annoying arguments that I hate to get into.
Yeah, like a UFC fan holding a beer talking about, I would have kicked his ass. You know what I'm saying? Like shit like that, bro.
Yeah, you know, like the other day, like some guy messaged me and is like, oh man, for sure, no offense to anything that you do, but you keep your hands way too low. And I'm like, bro, but I get hit. I'm one of the people that get hit the least.
Yeah.
You know, in my fights. So it's just like that's not causing me to win or lose fights or anything.
Right.
And if I do lose fights, it's not because somebody caught my hands low and hit me.
Right.
You know, so that's not so to me that was irrelevant, and that's like something I did not entertain that argument. You know, I did not entertain that. But if I were, you know, then we're getting into this stupid argument, and then why am I arguing with the person that doesn't do what I do?
Right.
So I think that's one of the things that I hate the most. You know.
Gotcha. Steven, what's something? What do you get into the arguments the most about?
Surprisingly, not knowing what restaurant to eat at.
Oh, bro, respect, man. That's a nightmare right there, man. And I can't even. Bro, I'm horrible with that. Cruz, talk to us. What do you get the most arguments in about?
Leaving my house on time.
Oh,
Being outside, and they're telling me they're outside, and I take like an extra 5 minutes or whatever. Put on myself.
damn, that's fashionably late right there. That's fashionably late right there. Alex, I guess what would you say are you expecting? What are you going into this next fight with the mentality of?
I haven't really thought about it. I'm gonna get out there and perform the best that I can. I mean, there really isn't a deeper thought than that. Haven't really put too much thought about it. I know I'm gonna deal with it when it comes there, but just to fight my heart out, I guess. Nothing special.
Nothing special.
No.
Just go in there another day in the office.
Yeah, I guess you can say it like that. Yeah, just go out there and do the best that I can, be the best that I can be. That's the only thing that I can ask for. You know, allow myself to do that.
Alex, talk to us about briefly, what was your experience in the Ultimate Fighter like? Correct me if I'm wrong. Was that your first foray into the UFC?
Yes. First time, I was working with the UFC. My experience there, I had a good experience. It was fun. The whole house dynamic was, I don't know, I just feel like it wasn't as stressful as people made it out to be. You know, like, I didn't feel like we had everything, you know. Like,
how long were you there for?
6 weeks.
And it's no phones, right?
No phones.
Okay.
But
We were
yeah.
chilling.
Yeah, I don't call nobody anyway. I'm barely like, I don't know. It was easy. It was like camp. I never been to camp before, so like to me, that's what I thought what camp would be like. You know, we're here, and we get to train. We come back to a house. All the food that we want is there. Anything that we want is there.
Damn.
Liquor cabinet completely stocked up 24/7.
Yeah,
we had games. We had pool. We had like we had a pool to shoot.
Damn.
Outside barbecue. I don't know like what people were complaining about. Honestly, we had a full laundry system with like 5 or 6 washers. You know, so like nobody was late doing shit. It was a nice house. Like I'm like. To me, it was just like, fuck, you know, like this is a great opportunity to see what my life could be like, you know, if I do well here.
Right.
You know, and there was, oh man, I can't, no phone, I can't talk to nobody, I can't tell my mom or my brother. I'm like, fuck, to me, it was like, man, it's time to jet. It's just like, let me retreat real quick. But it was fun. And then you got to train with like world-renowned mixed martial artists.
I was going to ask, what was the training like for you?
It was awesome, man. Like, to me, it was a big turning point in my career because it was a huge eye opener of like how I should be taking my career seriously, how I should be training, who I should be training with, you know, and stuff like that. And George St. Pierre there's no better example to look at, you know, like how you should be training, how you should be treating your business itself. You know, what are you looking for? Are you trying to, you know, fizz out early, or are you trying to maintain, you know, your structure so that you can live a perfect life afterwards? You know, look at George St. Pierre. He looks completely healthy. Like he's not like a lot of these fighters that are scrounging for money, so they're doing boxing matches and shit like that, and they're shadows of the versions of themselves that they were before.
Right.
So and I don't want to end up that way either. To me, life is life. It's not fighting. Fighting is not life. It's a part of it. Yeah, it's a very small part of it too. So I want to live life after fighting for sure. I want to travel. I want to do things, and I want to have a body that's able to do it. And I also want to be able to perform my martial arts. So I'm not going to waste myself, you know, for a corporation, any corporation at that, you know, just for a couple bucks and stuff like that. I know what the true wealth is in that sense. And it's a reason why I don't have cauliflower ear.
Right. Do you ever see yourself living in Japan or anything like that?
Yeah, I've always imagined living in a different country other than America. That's always been something cool to think about.
Okay.
I've been to a lot of places outside of America, and I see where they can do it better than here, or where they're lacking some places. You know, definitely. You know,
right.
It'll be nice, but yeah, I can see myself doing that. But do I see myself doing that? No.
Do you enjoy the traveling aspect of the fighting game?
Yeah, definitely. I haven't traveled in a while. You know,
Right.
we've only went to Vegas for the fights, but I think it's better that way too. Just keep it local until this COVID shit passes, because traveling with this stuff
It's a nightmare.
It's ridiculous. I hear people are going to Abu Dhabi to fight, but they're stuck in the hotel the whole time, so you don't really get to see Abu Dhabi at all. So I like traveling though. I like a free plane ticket somewhere else would be nice.
How did COVID impact your training schedule, your maintaining of your mixed martial arts tools?
Less training partners. That's where it impacted me. But for a very long time, it's always been difficult for me to find training partners.
How come?
People don't like to train with me. People, they say I've gotten a lot, you know, older, like I train too intensely.
Okay,
You
what do
know?
you say to that?
The guy in there is not going to give a fuck about your safety or not, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not that I don't care about your safety. It's just like, yeah, I want to push. I want to get it. I don't like try and like, honestly, like break people's face open or stuff like that, or break bones or anything. I don't snatch submissions or anything like that, but I do continue the pressure. I do train very hard. I like to train hard. You know, I like to get into a high intensity and a high pace, you know, and I like to, and I'm serious about my shit. You know, I'm serious.
Hell yeah.
I'm serious about understanding techniques and understanding concepts of what I'm doing. And I hate, I guess, a lot of people that don't like to train with me, that don't take their shit seriously, is the people that don't want to train with me. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, when my coach always said it this way, he's like, don't piss in my Kool-Aid. You know, I like the flavor the way I like it. You know, don't piss in my Kool-Aid. So it's just like, it makes sense. Like, he knows the shit works this way, so let's do it this way, and let's be serious about it, because what you're trying to absorb here is very important for you, especially in the thing that you're trying to do.
Right.
So one of my pet peeves is that when we're doing a class or we're holding a class and then there's people talking. Right now, like, your mentalities are like, you don't give a fuck.
Right.
You know, like, and I do. So it turns me off, you know, like,
Right.
so like now we're, you know, I'm going to make you give a fuck now. Like, but because I feel like it's important. And then we want to turn around, or a lot of people like to turn around and blame their coaches and blame their teammates and blame their gym that they're not getting the proper training. But really it's up to you. You can do for the last, for the last 2 or 3 fights, I was literally training, mostly in backyards and parks
Hell yeah.
with one other person, you know, but so it doesn't matter, you know, who's training you, and it's like how you're taking it. How are you doing it? How seriously are you taking it? You know, when I train for, people ask me, how long do you train? I was like, well, I train for about an hour to an hour and a half. It was like, of active training. It was like, oh, it's like, oh, you have to train like 6 hours a day. Like, I'm like, no, you don't. You don't understand, because in my hour and a half, I'm probably putting more effort and putting more work and more understanding of that work than you will be putting in 6 hours or in 3 hours. Where you see a lot of jiu-jitsu classes or a lot of MMA classes, people are usually sitting around having sewing circles and talking with each other.
Yeah.
You know, right now it's just work. Right now this is what I'm doing, and I'm constantly. That's why a lot of people, I guess, I rub them the wrong way, because when I'm in the gym, I'm just working, and they want to say hi, they want to have niceties and these little bullshit BS's, like, and like sometimes I'll be in the middle of a stretch and somebody wants to walk all the way across the mat and like shake my hand. I'm in the middle of like some weird stretch and shit. I'm like, well, like, don't say hi to me, and I'll tell them like that, and they think I'm an asshole. I'm like, I'm not an asshole. It's just you see me doing something. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you see me doing something, you start doing something. Class already started.
Right.
We should stop wasting time going with these formalities. You know, we I already know you. You know, you're my friend. We've been friends for a while. Like, just come in and start training. You know what I'm saying? If you didn't meet me before a class, then you already missed the time to slap my hand. Do it afterwards. But right now we're working. And that's the way that I am with a lot of things. When I get absorbed in something, I get absorbed in something. Yeah, I do take it seriously. Not because it's the end of the world if it doesn't go my way, but it's just at the moment, this is what I'm doing. And I don't know.
How if you had a preference, how active would you like to be? Which, I mean, you have been extremely active as far as fighting. Do you like the downtime, or do you like to be back to back to back?
I take it for what it is. You know, if I have downtime, then I'd say that the downtime is necessary, and if I don't, then I'm ready still. So it doesn't. It doesn't matter how long there is in between. I took more time off because I did have a gym to open up. So
Of course.
so when I do have downtime, I allot it correctly to the task that I'm performing at the moment. But that doesn't bother me whether I have downtime or not. It just depends on how I feel.
So depending on how does the last fight play a role at all, or not really?
Well, yeah, if I get injured or if I'm hurt, then yeah, I'll definitely want to take downtime.
Right.
But if I feel like nothing happened, you know, then I don't see it to be necessary. If I don't have nothing lined up in front of me, then it's not necessarily necessary. But I do like a little bit of time in between just to, I think it's necessary for everybody, you know, to kind of reconcile everything that you're doing at the moment. Really just get back into the enthusiasm of things. Really ask yourself the question, why am I doing it? You know.
And do you always find yourself coming back as far as like what is that answer for you? Why?
I try to keep it as simple as possible. You know, I simply like doing it. So I guess that's how it shows. I guess that's how it shows the way that I do it. It's that I like doing it. And when you see me doing it, it looks like the way that I do it, I like doing what I'm doing.
Hell yeah.
So that's what it is. I like smiling when I'm doing it. I like doing things that were thought impossible to do or weird to do or haven't been thought of yet. Or like, oh, that's just like something you'll see in a video game. Like, who would do that? You know, like, well, I would. So you know,
hell yeah. I mean, and you can see that. You can see the joy, the passion. I mean, when you're walking out either to the octagon or from the octagon, the man's dancing. The man's got a smile on his face. Where does that come from? Is that just a genuine joy that you're there?
Well, yeah, and I love. Yeah, it's just it's an exciting thing. I love to fight, and not in a way like, oh, I just want to fight people. You know what I'm saying? I guess I just love to perform, you know, in that sense. And I guess perform would be even the wrong word. I like to express.
Right.
That's the best.
And then the octagon is your canvas.
Yeah.
You
So
know?
I just like to express myself. So I don't know if I said it before, but like I guess I've a lot of times in my childhood too. Like I've always felt like I got into lots of fights, especially growing up, but I feel like a big part of it is just being misunderstood, and I feel like that's where anybody's problems comes from, is misunderstandings. We don't understand each other, therefore we create problems with each other. Because at least with the problem we can understand, So I found myself expressing myself a lot more, or trying to find ways to express myself more, because it helped me understand myself or be understood.
And lastly, before we start wrapping up this magnificent episode, Alex, I want to know, you had briefly mentioned an encounter with a fan who was less than cordial. How often are you finding yourself post-fight? Because I that's when I guess like mostly everything pops off. Are your DMs flooded with messages of support? Is it messages of disdain? What do you kind of normally hit with?
For the most part, I'd say it's love and support. That's definitely go a long way. But then again, probably because I did discover, blocking.
It's a beautiful button right there.
So I don't have to hear their shit. But it does come after fights usually every once in a while. My thing is like I stopped blocking just because it's funny to me now. Just to read them. Like it tickles me in a way.
Right.
And so like my favorite one is like I like reading comments from before the fight of people saying like how this guy is gonna murder me.
Oh, like a prediction?
Yeah, like
oh,
predictions.
That's great.
I love reading.
I would
predictions.
comment, bro. I would be in the dressing room comment right there, bro.
No, I just like watching that, and it's like weeks before, months before. Sometimes and once they hear the fight, it's already coming in now. You know what I'm saying?
My god!
But then seeing the same people get back on after the fights, if I win, saying, "Oh, he just fights bums," and I'm like, "Well, like, but the guy wasn't a bum before."
He wasn't,
the guy was like, "Oh man, no, this guy has this many fights and this many knockouts and this is who he beat and this and that."
Yeah.
And then I beat him, and it's like, "Oh, they only give him bums anyway." And I'm like, "What the fuck, bro? I can never fucking win." With
Every
you
time
guys.
they're like, "Oh, this kid's the next promise of the MMA or whatever," and then you beat him, and it's like, "Oh, okay."
And the thing is, like, they're not bums. They're fucking hard guys.
Hell
They're
yeah.
tough guys. There's a reason why they got there undefeated and why their records the way that they are, and why they have so many finishes in first rounds and stuff. Like these guys
Right.
that stood in front of everybody else that they stood in front of, and they laid them out. So it's just, but and I think that's where the lack of respect of the game. That's what I don't like. Like respect all fighters, man. They're like, and if you're just sitting there being entertained, then you have to respect all fighters, because even the guy that loses or the guy that's not very good or is not comparable to the better person, he's still doing something that you wouldn't do.
What do you feel if a fighter disrespects you before the fight? At the weigh-ins, they're trying you this and that. But then obviously, like you said, after the fight, there's a mutual sense of respect. But what about before the fight?
Yeah, it's a defense mechanism. That's all. I don't take it personally. You don't know me, so you can't hate me and you can't be mad at me. It's impossible if you don't know me. And that's the same, that goes with anybody. So it's just, some people need to be in a state of combat to fight people. So this is how they put themselves in the state of combat. They have to talk crap. They have to get angry. They have to get angry at the situation or at the person, proverbially speaking, in order to feel in that stage of combat or in that state of combat. Me being me is a state of combat. So I just don't feel like I have to charge myself up. That's all that I see is people that they just need to charge themselves up to get into a fight. It's a kind of like how people get into fights at bars and stuff and whatnot. It's rarely a thing that you see people that have a problem with each other come up to, "Hey, I have a problem with you. You have a problem with me. All right, let's step outside and solve it."
Yeah.
It doesn't happen that way. And not only that, and if you do see a fight happen that way, they're just not down to fight. There's
Right.
a lot more caution in that because there's an agreement upon the fight. When you look at, but for the most part, when you go outside and you see fights like that, people are already charged. They're either drunk or they get emotionally charged,
Right.
and therefore any cognitive response is thrown out the window.
Yeah.
And then they can go straight hands because it's just an emotional response. There is no cognitive response there. So it's easy to fight off emotions. It's easy to fight off when you're charged. It's like getting bumped into a club and I can just start swinging because it is what it is. But it's a setup fight and you're going to fight. If you know you're a warrior and you know that every place you step into could be a battle, this is much more difficult to do. It is much more difficult to always walk life as a warrior trying to live in a garden, in a sense. You know what I'm saying? So it's much more difficult because now everything is your choice. You know, it's not, I'm not doing anything out of a response. It's not, I'm at a bar and I'm drinking and somebody bumps into me or grabs my girl or says something to me and I get emotionally mad and I respond. That's easy way to fight. But to make a proper and cognitive decision, you know, if a person comes up to me and I make the choice to fight him or not, I always understand that it's my choice. So the guy can come up to me and start talking crap to me and I don't have to fight him.
Do you think MMA gave you that? Do you think that maybe had you not, had you not gone into the Ultimate Fighter, had you not and never dived into MMA, do you think that you wouldn't have that tool set?
I think just understanding, like being a fan of Bruce Lee is what gives you a huge eye opener into that philosophy. Because I don't think MMA really instills that philosophy into people. You know, if anything, if you look at the fights and you look how people talk crap to each other, it's quite the opposite. You know, like let's all get charged up and build up the fight. You know, so let's really get charged up before, so that when I do this, now it's I don't have to pay any mind to it. It's just my emotions taking me through it, you know?
Right.
And like, which is great. I don't like, it's good to have emotional content, but to be emotional during a process like that, it's, you know, then it becomes a brawl, then technique comes out the window, and then it becomes a puncher's chance. And we've seen lots of fights like that, which is perfectly fine. Lots of people like to see that kind of shit.
Yeah.
You know, but it's different, you know, like, I don't know, like there's less trash talking in boxing.
Very true. Very true.
But then you see more precise punches in boxing.
You do.
You know, and because they're not they're not as emotionally charged, and they're taking it more as a professional.
Right.
You know, people get emotionally charged at professionals. Like you see, like how everybody always tries to talk crap to Anderson Silva.
Right.
And he never gets mad.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's very true.
And they're trying to get under his skin. They're trying to piss him off because that intimidates them. Because to them, Anderson Silva is always ready. He doesn't change his demeanor whether he fights or whether he's not fighting. That intimidates people. People's like, well, I'm not ready. I got to get ready. I got to be in a certain mind or a certain thought process to be ready.
Right.
And this is a lot of people with anything. How often do you hear, I'm just waiting for my time. I'm just waiting for the right time. You know what I'm saying? It's the thing is like even if you're not ready, you got to be ready. And if that makes any sense.
So do you think there is no such thing as waiting for the right time? You just got to seize the moment?
Yeah. There is no right time. Time is an illusion.
Right.
There's timing, but there is no right time. Any day is the right time. You know,
Right.
they're like, oh, well, 6 months from now is going to be the right time for me to change my diet. No, it's not. It's today. Or it's tomorrow. There is no right time. You know, like if you're waiting for the right time, you're going to be waiting a very long time.
Right. Or like New Year's resolutions, that sort of thing. Like,
Yeah,
bro, do that shit whenever like you want to.
Yeah, there is no difference to do it now or then.
Right.
Like there is a difference. You're wasting time if you do it then.
Right.
And if you do it now, you waste less time.
100%. Ladies and gentlemen, what an episode of colossal proportions we have had today. Can we please give it up for our guest today, Alex Bruce Leeroy Caceres? Alex, first of all, I want to thank you so much for dropping on by again. Every single time that you come through, it's an absolute pleasure. Very insightful. Always a blast to have you come through. Thank you, brother.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. I also want to give a big shout out to our in-studio audience as well. You know what I'm saying? All right. Cruise, the cameras, you kept them on. I love you for it. You know what I'm saying? Big shouts. You know what I'm saying? Ladies and gentlemen, every Thursday at midnight, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? You go on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Deezer, all that good stuff. But more than anything, you know what I'm saying? You go on YouTube. Because that's how you get all the visuals. Ladies and gentlemen, we got like 72 cameras in here for a damn reason. So make sure to check out that YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Every Thursday at midnight, we have a brand new guest. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, your brother's actually sliding through next weekend, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So big shouts. Stay on the lookout for that. Alex, last question of the evening that I do want to leave off with. If you could tell one thing to the Bruce Leeroy from 10 years ago who was auditioning for the Ultimate Fighter and merely had but a glaze in his eye and big dreams of aspirations in the UFC, if you could tell one thing to Bruce Leeroy from then, what would it be?
Damn, I don't know. I don't know if I would change anything.
But what would you? I mean, I'm not saying that you would
Oh,
change
okay,
anything,
yeah.
but what would you tell them?
I guess when I was younger, I think the biggest problem for me was not believing in myself. Especially even when I was in the UFC, even when I was an Ultimate Fighter. So I think that would be what the message that I'll try to convey would just have a little bit more faith in yourself.
Have a little bit more faith in yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for joining for this magnificent episode. You know what it is. Every Thursday at midnight, brand new episode. Holla!
And it don't matter what the world thinks. You can say how you feel on midnight in Miami. When you can push it to the limit, it gets real.